by a statement that the President of the United States put out at 8:03 a.m. Eastern time on Easter morning that said this, and we're going to read it in its entirety, not in outrage or self-righteousness, but honestly in horror. Quote, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. 3 exclamation points. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. All caps. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump. Now, a lot of people reading that imagined, of course, this can't be real. Did the President of the United States really just write that?
In this video, something shocking happens. A message posted on Easter morning by the President of the United States leaves even Tucker Carlson stunned. At first, it sounds unbelievable, like something that can't possibly be real, but as it sinks in, you realize this might be one of the most revealing moments we've seen in a long time. This isn't just about politics. It's about tone, leadership, and the kind of language that shapes global tension. You need to watch closely, because this moment says a lot more than it seems on the surface.
And it is real. It is maybe the most real thing this president has ever done, and also the most revealing. On every level, it is vile on every level. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military, our military, to destroy civilian infrastructure in another country, which is to say to commit a war crime, a moral crime against the people of the country, whose welfare, by the way, was one of the reasons we supposedly went into this war in the first place. They're being killed by their government. We have to rescue them. And now here's our president, not even a month and a half into the conflict, which we are not winning, by the way, because the Straits of Hormuz are not open. There's one way to keep track. That's the measurement. Saying that we're going to use our military to kill the civilians of this country who didn't choose the war. They got nothing to do with it. They're like civilians everywhere. Blow up their bridges? Bridges on military bases? No, just bridges. Bridges that people cross every day to go to school and work and to worship, and yes, church, because there are over 1 million Christians in Iran. This is their Easter too. And power plants. Not the power plants attached to missile factories, okay, but civilian power plants in a country of almost 100 million people. What happens when a modern country, and a country that has a nuclear program is a modern country, sorry, Iran is a modern country, what happens when it loses power? Well, people die. Babies connected to incubators die. People in hospitals die. And those are the first level effects.
This is where things get serious. Tucker Carlson starts breaking down what this message actually implies and why it's so disturbing to him. He's not reacting with outrage, he's reacting with concern. Because when powerful leaders talk about military action so casually, it raises real questions about consequences. Think about it. Decisions like these don't just stay on paper, they affect real people, real families, and entire nations. Tucker is basically asking, where is the line? And more importantly, who decides when that line gets crossed?
And then people begin to starve. And then you have refugee crises. People leave the cities looking for food. And then, yes, they move into other countries. In the region, in Europe, in the United States, you cause chaos and death, mass suffering and death when you do that. And we have done that. We have intentionally bombed civilian infrastructure in Iran. It's totally unacceptable. Not under the phony laws of some international body, but under moral law, God's law, killing non-combatants, people who did nothing wrong, who didn't choose this war, who were just people created by God. That is immoral. That will never be moral. That can never be justified. That is always wrong. It can be expedient. We need to do this. It doesn't mean it's right. It's the most wrong thing. And we should always remember that what we do will be done to us. Live by the destruction of civilian infrastructure. Live by the killing of children, the bombing of elementary schools and colleges. And you will die, and your children will die by those same things. That's just a fact. That's never not been true. We don't want it to be true. It's the last thing we want to be true, but it is nonetheless true. And everyone knows that on an animal level. You can feel that that's true. Ooh, shouldn't do that. You'll be punished for it in this life or the next, or maybe both. For the president to say that and not bother to tell us, oh, it was an accident we did this? Well, one, it makes you reassess the bombing of the girls' school attached to the IRGC naval base, where the children of Iranian military officers were incinerated in a bombing, not one but two, a double tap. Every person has assumed that was a mistake. No American could ever believe the US government would do that on purpose. I still don't believe it. But after this, you have to kind of wonder, how did that happen?
Now, this is the part that really makes you stop and think. Tucker shifts from just reacting to the message to questioning the bigger picture. What happens when rhetoric escalates this quickly? What kind of chain reaction does it create globally? He points out something important. When leaders use extreme language, it doesn't just stay as words. It can influence actions, policies, and even future conflicts. And that's where the real concern comes in. Not just what was said, but what it could lead to.
Was it bad targeting, coordinates given to us, we hope, by Israel, another country? Maybe it wasn't. Who knows at this point? For the president to call for that, it's worth stopping and saying, no, this is not acceptable under any circumstances. You haven't justified it. You couldn't justify it. And it can't be done in our name. And the point, of course, is to get the Iranians to open the Strait of Hormuz. Well, no sane person thinks that's going to work. At which point you have to ask, why would we do it anyway? Well, there are a bunch of possible reasons, but the darkest of all is for the sake of doing it. For the sake of killing, for the sake of exercising the most obvious form of power, which is extinguishing life. That's why we're doing it. The thrill is in the killing. The power is in the killing. The exertion of force is the point.
Then the conversation takes an even deeper turn. Tucker begins talking about morality, consequences, and the long-term impact of decisions made in moments like this. He raises a powerful idea. History has shown that actions often come back around. What a country does on the global stage can shape how it's treated in the future. It's not just about right or wrong in the moment. It's about the ripple effect those choices create over time.
You don't want to think that. But after a message like this, what could possibly be the reason? There's nobody who thinks that if we do this, and we pray we don't, for our sake as well as the sake of non-combatant innocent Iranians, nobody thinks this is going to work. But then the tweet continues. Pardon me, the ironically named truth continues. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing strait. How dare you speak that way on Easter morning to the country? Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? You'll be living in hell. As if hell is a place. Hell is a condition. And this is an example of that condition. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. So obviously you're mocking the religion of Iran. Okay. If you seek a religious war, that's a good idea. But by the way, no decent person mocks other people's religions. You may have a problem with the theology. Presumably you do if it's not your religion, and you can explain what that is. But to mock other people's faith is to mock the idea of faith itself. And we should never mock that, because at its core is the acknowledgement that we are not in charge of the universe. We did not build it. We won't be here at the end of it. We can destroy life. We cannot create it because we are not God. The message of all faith at the biggest picture level is the message in our Bible, which is you are not God. And only if you think you are do you talk this way.
And finally, Tucker addresses something that a lot of people might overlook, the tone and timing of the message itself. On a day that's supposed to represent reflection and peace for millions of people, the language used here feels jarring and out of place. That contrast is what makes this moment so impactful. It forces you to ask, is this the kind of leadership people expect? Is this how global communication should look at the highest level? This entire segment leaves us with more questions than answers. Was this just a moment of emotion, or something much more intentional? Does this reflect a broader shift in how leaders communicate today? I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think this kind of message helps or harms global stability? And how should leaders be held accountable for what they say publicly? Drop your opinion in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like the video and subscribe, because we're going to keep diving into moments like this that everyone is talking about.